The champagne flute slipped from my fingers, shattering against the polished oak floor of the ballroom like a gunshot in a confessional. Bubbles frothed across my polished loafers, soaking the hem of my slacks, but I barely registered the cold seep or the gasps rippling through the crowd. All I could see was her, my wife of 12 years, Elena, pressed against the shadowed alcove by the French doors, her laughter a silken thread unraveling in the humid night air. His hand lingered too long on her waist, fingers playing possessively over the curve I'd traced 1,000 mornings ago. The man wasn't family. He was a stranger with eyes like polished obsidian, and the way she tilted her head, exposing the vulnerable line of her throat, wasn't a casual flirtation of old friends. It was surrender. I froze there, amidst the clink of crystal and the murmur of ants cooing over floral centerpieces, my chest tightening like a rusted clamp. We'd driven 3 hours that afternoon, Elena's fingers drumming the steering wheel to some indie playlist she'd curated, songs about second chances and hidden roads. "It's just a family reunion, babe," she'd said, her voice light as spun sugar, eyes flicking to the rear view where our daughter slept in the back seat. Lila's engagement party's the perfect excuse to catch up. You know how her fiancé's folks are, old money, all pomp and circumstance. I'd nodded, squeezing her knee, because that's what you do when love feels like a habit worn soft at the edges. But now, in this cavernous hotel ballroom strung with fairy lights and the scent of tuberose heavy as regret, habit cracked open like that fallen glass. Retreating to the edge of the dance floor, I nursed a fresh drink, the bourbon burning a path down my throat that did nothing dull the ache blooming behind my ribs. Elena reemerged minutes later, cheeks flushed not from wine, but from something warmer, more illicit. She wove through the throng. Cousins in sequin sheaths, uncles loosening ties after toasts, her emerald dress hugging the hips that had carried our child, the same dress I'd zipped up that morning with a kiss to her shoulder blade. "There you are," she breathed, sliding an arm around my waist, her touch electric and foreign all at once. Up close, her perfume was smeared, mingling with a cologne I didn't recognize, sandalwood and salt, like a beach at dusk. "Lila's been asking for you. Come say hi to Marcus, her man. He's got that brooding artist vibe you pretend not to envy." I forced a smile, the kind that pulled at my jaw like ill-fitting dentures, and let her lead me toward the head table. My mind raced in jagged loops. It's nothing. Jet lag from the drive. She's tipsy, overtired from planning the charade. Because it was a charade, wasn't it? Elena had insisted on the reunion label, framing it as a casual gather-all before Lila's winter wedding. But the invitations had been gold embossed, the venue a lakeside estate that screamed extravagance, not potluck nostalgia. I'd rationalized it as her way of mending fences with Lila. The sisters had been estranged since Elena's miscarriage 2 years back, a grief that turned their shared blood into barbed wire. "Family heals," Elena had whispered one night, her head on my chest, tears salting my skin. I'd held her then, believing in the alchemy of us, in the vows that promised we'd weather any storm. Now, doubts slithered in like fog off the lake visible through the windows, thick and obscuring. Lila spotted us first, her laughter a bright peal cutting through the string quartet's rendition of Pachelbel's canon. She was a golden child, blonde waves cascading like she'd stepped from a magazine, her engagement ring a solitaire that caught the light like a distress signal. Marcus rose beside her, all tailored linen and easy charisma, extending a hand that engulfed mine in a grip both firm and fleeting. "Heard so much about you, Tom. Elena's stories make you sound like the Rock of Gibraltar." His smile was practiced, teeth even and white, but his eyes, God, those eyes, slid past into Elena with a hunger that twisted my gut. She blushed, tucking a stray curl behind her ear, the gesture so intimate it felt like theft. "Flattery will get you everywhere," Elena quipped, her voice a melody laced with undercurrents I couldn't place. Lila looped an arm through mine, pulling me into a hug that smelled of vanilla and victory. "Tom, you have no idea how glad I am you're here. Elena's been distant lately. This feels like old times." Distant. The word landed like a pebble in still water, ripples spreading. Had Lila seen it too? The late nights Elena claimed were work calls from her gallery job, her phone face down on the nightstand like a guilty secret. I dismissed them as ambition's toll. She was curating a show on fractured ceramics, pieces mended with gold kintsugi. She called it Beauty in the Breaks. But fractures had a way of deepening unseen. As the evening unspooled, I drifted through conversations like a ghost of my own haunting. An aunt pressed a plate of crab-stuffed mushrooms into my hand, their briny warmth turning to ash on my tongue. Laughter swelled around me. Stories of childhood summers at the lake house, Elena and Lila building forts from driftwood, their father grilling trout over open flames that crackled like unspoken resentments. He'd died young, a heart attack at 48, leaving the sisters to navigate a mother's slow unraveling into dementia. Elena had always been a protector, the one who shielded Lila from the ugliness, who promised their family wouldn't shatter like the vases their mother once hurled in fits of rage. "We're unbreakable," she'd say, linking pinkies with her sister under the dinner table. Now, watching Elena across the room, animated in a knot of relatives, her hand brushing Marcus's arm as she gestured wildly about some art exhibit, I wondered what else she'd shielded. From me? For me? The unease coiled tighter during the toasts. Lila's best friend raised her glass, voice thick with emotion. "To love that surprises you at the corners you least expect." Elena's eyes met Marcus's over the rim of her flute, a shared flicker that bypassed the room, landing like a spark on dry tinder in my chest. I excused myself, mumbling about the restroom, but my feet carried me instead to the veranda, where the night air slapped my face with its chill, lake waves lapping the shore like hesitant confessions. Leaning on the balustrade, I pulled out my phone, scrolling through old photos. Elena 9 months pregnant, her belly a taut drum under my palm. Our wedding, her veil translucent as hope. Lila's college graduation. The three of us arm in arm, unbreakable. My thumb hovered over a recent one, last week's picnic. Elena's smile strained at the edges, as if posing for a portrait of a life half-lived. Footsteps crunched on the gravel path below. I peered over the railing, heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. There they were, Elena and Marcus, slipped away from the glow of the ballroom, their silhouettes merging under the willow tree's drooping canopy. His whisper was loss of wind, but her reply carried, soft, urgent. "We can't keep doing this. Tom's not stupid. And Lila, God, what have I done?" Marcus stepped closer, cupping her face, and she didn't pull away. Instead, she melted into him, their kiss a slow unraveling, mouse-hungry and unhurried, as if the world beyond that tree didn't exist. My vision tunneled, the lake's murmur roaring in my ears, a metallic tang flooding my mouth, blood from where I'd bitten my cheek raw. Betrayal isn't a thunderclap. It's the quiet erosion, wave by wave, until the shore gives way. I should have stormed down, shattered them like that glass flute. Instead, I stood rooted, a voyeur to my own ruin, thoughts fracturing. Love her still? After this? But she carried our loss, the empty nursery we painted blue on a whim. Anger surged, hot and righteous, then ebbed in confusion's chill tide. Had I failed her, buried in my engineering job's blueprints while she chased beauty in broken things? Guilt gnawed. The nights I'd scroll job listings instead of holding her, rationalizing my restlessness as practicality. Denial clawed back. A mistake. One kiss. We can mend it like her ceramics. But the truth clawed deeper when they broke apart, Elena's hand lingering on his chest. "Tell Lila," Marcus murmured, voice rough as gravel, "before the wedding. She deserved that much." Elena's laugh was bitter, a sound I'd never heard from her lips, like glass grinding underfoot. "Lila, she's the reason we're here. The only pure thing left." She turned then, gaze lifting as if sensing my shadow above, and for a heartbeat, our eyes locked across the void. Not shock in hers, but pity, like I was a fragile piece in her collection. I backed away, the veranda's stone cold under my palms, the party's hum a distant dirge. Slipping through a side door, I found Lila in the bridal suite, adjusting her veil in the mirror, eyes rimmed red from champagne or something sharper. "Tom, you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." Her words trembled, and in that mirror's reflection, I saw it, the faint bruise of knowledge shadowing her joy. "Lila, I started, voice cracking like thin ice. Your sister and Marcus. She whirled, face crumpling not in surprise, but sorrow. You know, the room spun, velvet drapes whispering against my fevered skin. Lila sank onto the chaise, spilling in fragments. The affair had started a year ago at an art opening Elena curated. Marcus, a sculptor with hands that shaped clay into confessions, had seen Elena's fractures and poured gold into them. Lila had found out months back, confronted them in a rain-lashed parking lot, but chose silence. For the family, for the reunion we'd all pretended was healing. I thought, if I went through the wedding, she'd snap out of it. That love wins, you know? Like in the stories she tells. Her voice broke, mirroring mine. But Tom, she loves you. In her messed up way. This was her escape from the grief. From us failing her. Grief. The word hollowed me. A chasm where trust once stood. I thought of Elena's distant smiles, her kintsugi, beauty in breaks. But what if the goal was just guilt hiding rot? Anger flared, pure and scorching. She chose escape over us. Yet beneath it, love lingered, stubborn as lake weeds, tangled and enduring. I pulled Lila into a hug, her sobs soaking my shirt, both of us adrift in the same storm. Downstairs, the quartet struck up a waltz, oblivious. Elena found me later, alone by the bar, her eyes searching mine with that same pity. Tom, we need to talk. But I held up a hand, the bourbon glass trembling. Not here, not tonight. The twist came not in accusation, but in her nod, resigned, as if she'd rehearsed this ending. As we drove home the next dawn, Lila's ring returned. The lake shrinking in the rear view, I realized the real betrayal wasn't the kiss under the willow. It was a lie we'd all told. That family mends what it breaks. Elena's hand reached for mine, tentative, and I let it rest there, not in forgiveness, but in the gray space between ruin and rebuild. Some fractures demand more than gold. They require fire.